Right now at 5, a deadly shooting at a movie theater in Wesley Chapel. Action Air 1 taking you live above the Cobb Theater, where 2 people were shot inside.
Somebody throws popcorn. I'm not sure who threw the popcorn, and then bang, he was shot.
The whole ordeal over someone texting during a movie. Authorities say they have the shooter in custody right now.
We've been bringing you developments all afternoon right here on ABC Action News, and we're expecting to get an update from Sheriff Chris Nacco any moment now.
Yeah, tonight we are taking action for you with live team coverage. Our Carson Chambers and Jacqueline Ingles are live outside the Grove 16 at the Cobb Theater in Wesley Chapel, where they talked with people who saw the whole thing.
Our Alex Hobson standing by at St. Joe's Hospital, where another victim is recovering right now.
And let's head out right now to Carson. And Carson, this has been a terrifying day for those people inside.
It has been, and we did talk to some eyewitnesses who say that they heard the victim say to the suspect that he was just texting his 3-year-old daughter. At that point, deputies say there was an altercation, popcorn went flying, that the suspect pulled out a .380 pistol and shot the man. He is dead tonight, and the suspect is in custody.
It's crazy. I never thought something like this would happen at our theater.
Moviegoers were getting ready to see lots of gunfire on the big screen in Wesley Chapel.
There was patrons in there about to see the movie Lone Survivor.
They never saw their movie, but got the gunfire anyway when a suspect shot and killed another moviegoer in the seat in front of him as movie previews rolled.
During this time, the victim was on his cell phone. He was texting. We believe he was making some type of noise. This noise led to an altercation between the suspect and the victim.
Investigators say the suspect was carrying a .380 pistol and also shot a female victim, airlifted to a Tampa Bay hospital with injuries. And in theaters next door and down the hall, ticket holders were simply asked to leave, met by scores of law enforcement outside.
Oh my God. No, thank God. We just walked out. I got out of there.
Movie theater employees like Gabriel Minna drove over because their friends weren't picking up their phones inside the Cobb Theater.
Something happening like that in Little Wesley Chapel, it's just, I never even thought it would happen.
But it did, and it definitely shook up not only moviegoers, but deputies who rushed to help.
When the first call came in and you're hearing a shooting at a movie theater, the first thing you think is those critical incidents that have gone on throughout the country. That's why we train for them.
And from what we understand from inside the theater, from eyewitnesses, it was actually someone inside that theater who went over to the gunman, took the gun out of his hands, and at that point, he says the gunman sat down in a seat and just simply waited. At this hour, we do understand that the gunman is still inside the theater, and he has not been arrested or transported from here quite yet. They're probably questioning him. We're live in Wesley Chapel. I'm Carson Chambers, ABC Action News.
We continue our coverage from Wesley Chapel now with Jacqueline Ingles.
Yeah, and Jacqueline, you spoke with a witness who was so close to all of this, he had blood on him.
He did. He was very shaken up. He told me how this man actually died in his lap. He was one of about a few dozen people inside of that theater that were just let out, and you could just see on their faces how scary and terrifying this was. Everyone very shaken up.
He said, "Man, I can't believe I got shot," and he started walking, and then he said, "Alex," just blood started coming out of his mouth, and I was like, I just held him. I was like trying to hold him up, and then he just fell down.
Alex Cummings took his father, a combat veteran, to see Lone Survivor for his birthday, a war movie noted for its bloody action scenes. But today, gunfire came a lot closer to them.
He staggered 2 seats over, fell on my son and I.
According to both witnesses, the shooter became upset with the victim because he was using his cell phone during the movie's previews, and multiple altercations ensued.
The guy who was shot said something, "I just was texting my daughter, 3-year-old daughter."
Now, this victim's wife, we're told by fire rescue, was shot in her hand as she rushed to help her dying husband. That's when a nurse who also happened to be in the theater for this movie jumped in, tried giving the victim CPR, but it did not work. Meanwhile, while that was going on, we had another moviegoer run up to the suspect and grab that gun out of his hand. We're live tonight in Wesley Chapel. Jacqueline Ingles, ABC Action News.
All right, Jacqueline, thank you. And just into the newsroom, we are hearing from Cobb Theaters, the company that owns the theater where the shooting happened today. They say, in part, quote, "The safety, security, and comfort of our guests and team members are always our top priorities, and we are truly heartbroken by this incident," end quote.
This is what happened over an altercation over just some noise off of a cell phone.
Texting inside a movie theater leads to an argument and shots fired.
The guy who was shot said something, I just was texting my daughter, 3-year-old daughter.
The shooting left one man dead and at least one moviegoer splattered in blood. Good evening, I'm Brendan McLaughlin.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with the very latest on that shooting inside the Grove 16 movie theater in Wesley Chapel. An argument between two couples who went to see a war movie this afternoon ended with one of the couples getting shot. This is video of the alleged shooter. That's him in the white jumpsuit there. He's a retired Tampa police officer. We are taking action for you with team coverage. We begin with our Carson Chambers with the very latest from the scene. Carson?
Well, Wendy, the victim is 43-year-old Chad Olson. He was here with his wife to see that movie, Lone Survivor. And during the confrontation, when it started to unfold, deputies say that she actually put her hand up over him, over his chest, to try to deflect that bullet. She was shot in the hand and transported to a local hospital. Tonight, he is dead, and a retired Tampa police officer is charged with second-degree murder.
What we believe this is over is somebody texting.
What happened inside a Wesley Chapel movie theater is hard to digest.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I work here every day. I was working last night, and to hear this now, it's kind of crazy.
Unfortunately, after Aurora, we've all thought about it.
The light came on in the theater and they asked us all to leave.
But the fatal shooting inside a showing of Lone Survivor at the Cobb Theater near I-75 and State Road 54, where folks had just settled in to watch movie previews, is different. According to Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nacco, one texting moviegoer had a noisy cell phone, and a suspect, now in custody, had a handgun.
During that time, the suspect was sitting in a seat with somebody else he was accompanied with. The victim was sitting in front of him. He was also accompanied with somebody else.
When the texting started, deputies say the suspect grumbled over the commotion. Popcorn went flying. He pulled a .380 pistol and shot a man and woman in the seat in front of him. Witnesses say the male victim died in the theater. The woman was rushed to a local hospital.
I can't get a hold of anyone inside.
It's hard to believe something like this would happen in a movie theater. And then again, it's not.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy that, it would rise to this level of altercation over somebody just texting in a movie theater.
And tonight, 71-year-old Curtis Reeves, the retired Tampa police officer, is charged with second-degree murder. Witnesses inside the theater say that after he pulled the trigger, he actually sat down in a movie chair and just waited. And there was a Sumter County off-duty deputy who happened to be in the theater at the time. He walked over, he took the gun away from him. Meanwhile, a nurse gave the victim CPR. And there were also two other bystanders who tried to help that victim. But again, he died right here inside this Wesley Chapel movie theater. Live in Wesley Chapel, I'm Carson Chambers. Back to you.
Thank you, Carson. I-Team investigator Adam Walser continues our team coverage. Adam, what have you learned about the alleged shooter in this situation?
Well, Brendan, we've learned that Reeves was a former Tampa police officer who retired from the force more than 20 years ago. The video of the 71-year-old as he was being arrested this afternoon, that's it right there. The Tampa Police Department sent us some information just minutes ago about Reeves' background. The department says that Reeves was instrumental in establishing the department's first tactical response unit. He retired from the department in September of 1993. At that time, he had the rank of captain. A police spokesperson said that Reeves has had no known contact with the department since then. We have also learned that Reeves worked as director of security for a period of time at Busch Gardens. We've contacted Busch Gardens to try to learn more, but have not heard back yet. Reeves moved to Hernando County at least 5 years ago, where he served as a board member for the Hernando County Crime Stopper program for about a year, but is no longer active with that organization. The I-Team also discovered Reeves was apparently an avid hunter with hunting licenses granted in Ohio and Georgia for multiple years, dating back to 2001. I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser, ABC Action News.
Gunshots in a Tampa Bay movie theater. Rage over a man sending text messages. Tonight, a retired cop in jail on murder charges. The victim, a husband and family man.
He loved his job, he loved his family, he loved motocross.
Tonight, we're digging deep, uncovering details about the people involved and a heated situation that escalated out of control. These photos from Facebook tonight giving us a look at the victims, Chad and Nicole Olson. Neighbors describing Chad as a family man who got along with everyone. We're also learning the couple was out on a date when he was shot dead. Our Jacqueline Inglace joins us now, returning from that neighborhood. She's live outside the theater with more. Jacqueline, any word from the wife tonight?
Well, there is. Nicole Olson is now back at her Land O'Lakes home. She was just recently released from the hospital. Tonight, though, she is requesting her privacy as she grieves. But while this mother tries to figure out just how to tell her 3-year-old daughter that her father will never be coming home again, friends of this couple are speaking out on their behalf.
She's a wreck. I mean, she just lost her husband, the father of her little girl. And
Tonight, the young family you see here in these Facebook photos is torn apart.
he's just a good all-around guy, father of a beautiful little girl. That just a tragic loss.
Family friends told us Nicole and Chad Olson worked opposite schedules. But when they both realized they were off today, they decided to go on a date, lunch, and then a movie. Friends say the couple bought tickets to a matinee, giving them enough time to pick up their daughter from daycare. The movie they chose, Lone Survivor, a war movie known for its graphic scenes of bloodshed and death. But even before the movie could start, Chad was shot dead, deputies say, by a retired Tampa police officer.
And for a retired or off-duty officer has that training and all that, should have never escalated to that point when Chad doesn't carry weapons, doesn't hold weapons, and doesn't have anything like that.
Witnesses say Curtis Reeves became enraged over Chad texting with his daughter during movie previews. They added that when Reeves pulled the gun, Chad's wife lunged to protect her husband. The bullet, according to deputies, went through her hand and into her husband's chest.
The end result didn't justify anything that could have happened.
Chad Olson was just 43 years old. Neighbors of this family told us that they moved here 3 years ago from Clayton, Illinois. Back to you in the studio.
Jacqueline, thank you. And it turns out we have spoken to Chad Olson in the past. It was back in 2011, where Eric Waxler was in Port Richey doing a story about crime along US 19. And that's when he found Chad Olson at work at Sky Power Sports.
I mean, obviously, it's not something you want out in front of your shop with customers and families and things like that.
That was Chad Olson. We continue our team coverage with Alex Hobson, who is also at that theater tonight. And Alex, you've been uncovering more about the suspected shooter and retired Tampa police officer Curtis Reeves. What did you find out?
Well, the word I kept hearing over and over again tonight is shocked. This is a man described to me as a devoted Christian, a loving grandfather, and not someone people in their wildest dreams would have imagined could have done this.
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what happened that he would do that.
For 45 years, he's been her friend. But as Curtis Reeves Jr. was led into the back of a sheriff's car wearing a white jumpsuit, he seemed more like a stranger.
I thought it can't be. He just is not that kind of person.
But according to the sheriff, the same man friends describe as a good neighbor and a kind Christian killed a man and injured his wife, all because of an argument over texting at the movie theater.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
The sentiment echoed down this Brooksville street, as Reeves is someone with a long history, in fact, of being on the other side of the law. In 1993, he retired from the Tampa Police Department as a captain, and according to police, was instrumental in establishing TPD's first tactical response team. Busch Gardens confirms he then went to work for them, serving as their director of security until 2005. For a period of time, Reeves was also an active member of Hernando County Crime Stoppers. But Bill Costas just knew him as his neighbor. He's lived next door to Reeves since 2006.
Curtis is a good guy. He's always been very nice to my wife, myself.
But no one wanted to speak at his house tonight. When we knocked on the door, a voice immediately yelled at us to leave.
Please get off the property.
So many questions still left unanswered.
You just never know what's going to happen anymore. The world's getting more and more evil.
We have confirmed Reeves' son is also in law enforcement. He's been an officer with TPD since 2003. As for his father, tonight he's being held at the Land O'Lakes Detention Center on second-degree homicide charges. Reporting live in Wesley Chapel, Alex Hobson, ABC Action News.